Williams, thank you so much for your patience. We just needed to sneak in the president there, and he also was talking about, what you and I were talking about these NFL protests, and to hear the president say the nation is coming together on this, pointing out how last night, at the game, the players stood, talking to his owner friends, people are getting behind them. Does it sound to you like the president's taking credit for these players standing now at these games?
I got to tell you something. I heard something else in that speech. I got to go back to this. He said, when asked about Puerto Rico, and I'm so sorry I'm going to answer your question, but when he asked about Puerto Rico, he said, well, you know what? They're just a territory. Let's remember, 100 years ago this year, back in 1917, Woodrow Wilson made Puerto Rico a territory but gave Puerto Ricans statutory citizenship. And since 1917, Puerto Ricans have probably put close to 60,000 people in uniforms, 20,000 during World War I, over 40,000 in World War II, and about 20,000 during the Korean War, and we don't know the numbers during Vietnam. So Puerto Ricans are American citizens. There should be no question about how we're going to rebuild America. When we talk about what's going on in Puerto Rico, the president's very happy with this response. There are 10,000 people that were deployed, another 3,000 people that are being deployed in the next couple of days. I was in in Mr. Alex Amparo's office earlier this week, who's part of FEMA, and actually took a tour through FEMA in Washington, D.C. There are over 5.5 million people right now, Brooke, in this country, from Houston to Florida to Puerto Rico, who are all in trouble. We put 40,000 people on the ground in the Florida Keys. The landmass of Puerto Rico is 20 times the landmass of the Florida Keys. Why do we not have 40,000 people deployed today? So don't take credit for something when the credit is just a trickle. And again, we got to stop this identifying who is either patriotic or who is American. There's not a Puerto Rican in this country alive today who is not an American citizen at birth. So, let's calm down when we say we're going to slow down a trickle, or we don't even know if we're going to rebuild. If we said we weren't going to rebuild the Florida Keys or we weren't going to rebuild Houston, the country would be in an uproar. And it goes back to the same thing with the football players. We can accept the lies and accept the thought that most of the country is falling in line with him. They're not. 60% of the people don't even think he should be speaking out on this issue of football players. And I will go back to again.
It's a difference. No, and it was the CNN polling. It's like most people feel like he shouldn't have injected himself in criticizing these players. The majority, by just a margin, is in favor of the fact that you shouldn't take a knee during the national anthem. But when you look at it a little further, by race,
Correct.
Most Black Americans say they should be able to.
Look, before we have to run, and I know you're going to have to cut soon, I want to say this. Make sure people out here understand. I stand at attention. I don't stand and put my hand over heart. I stand at attention. It's what I did for 22 years. My hands are locked beside the seams of my pants when I stand for the national anthem. Most of the time, I sing. But I'm going to tell you something, Brooke. Maybe from this point forward, when I stand, I won't put my hands by the seam of my pants. I'm just going to hold them up towards the sky. And while the national anthem is playing, I'm going to pray that we as a nation start upholding the things that flag really represents. And that's equal justice for all. For all.
I still got you for a bit longer, so let me talk to you as a veteran. I got you for two more minutes. As a veteran, I want to talk to you about this amazing moment over in Colorado, getting a lot of attention. These 5 African American students. You know where I'm going. From,
I was at the I went to the Naval Academy Prep School, and your story is absolutely right. The Air Force Academy Prep School.
This is Air Force Academy Prep School. These racial epithets, go home, N-word, written on their dorm room, white erase boards, and so it was the superintendent there, the Lieutenant General Jay Silveria, delivered this powerful condemnation in front of thousands of cadet and cadet candidates, and I actually had him on live last hour. So if you haven't seen it, here's part of his original comments.
I have seen it.
And then part of our conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
If you can't treat someone with dignity and respect, then you need to get out. If you can't teach someone from another gender, whether that's a man or a woman, with dignity and respect, then you need to get out. If you demean someone in any way, then you need to get out. And if you can't treat someone from another race or a different color skin with dignity and respect, then you need to get out.
Everything that we do here is about developing airmen and about developing these airmen into leaders. So I needed to address the topic head on, but it's also about teaching them about addressing the topic. So I wanted to be unambiguous about how we're going to treat this topic, but everything that we do here is about developing these airmen. So I wanted to take an opportunity to also give them a leadership lesson.
30 seconds. Go ahead,
Brooke,
Montel.
do you know that the only job in the entire country that has a grade for how you respect equal opportunity is the U.S. military? Our military has led the way for the last 60, 70 years in America, representing equal opportunity for all, because when a soldier's on a battlefield, he doesn't look left and right and ask a white or a black person to protect them. He asks his brother to protect him, and they will always be his brother. For those who can't understand that that guy down the hallway might be your wingman that you want to denigrate today, it might be the reason why you die tomorrow. And we all ought to think about that, because there's been death and sacrifice by every race represented by what we call the United States of America. All of them and us need that same respect.
Montel Williams, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Back
Brooke.
up to
Thanks
this.
for having me.